What is up, guys? So today we're going to talk about some of my old cellmates over the years who have been a little bit strange encounters. You know, something's not right and I can't really put my finger on it. And I can look back now and I can say to myself, yeah, that was a bit weird, you know, something dodgy going on there. But in the moment, you just want to get through it, you know, just want to get through prison, do your best time you can and get out. And try and have a laugh while you're there. And just make the best of a bad situation. So I try not to get caught up in all the bullshit. But now looking back, I can see something weren't right there. But that's what I'm going to talk about today anyway. I woke up this morning. I actually feel a little bit guilty because I was watching Rackpull. He did a live yesterday, and I don't really watch Rackpull that much anymore because I feel like he just says the same thing over and over. And what he does is he puts like a shocking title, like, I can't believe this, or I can't believe I'm saying this. So you click on the video, like, oh, what's he going to say? And then he just says the same thing he's said all week. So I don't tend to watch him that much. And he was doing a live, I like hovered over it. And he was just saying the same thing. He looked a little bit tipsy. I thought, he's drunk again. I don't know if he's an alcoholic. He might be. He might just be a binge drinker. But he seems to be drunk an awful lot lately. So I went out and came back like about 5 hours later. I've gone on YouTube and he's still doing a live, but now he's really drunk and he's slurring and stumbling. It's strange how Rackpull's never mentioned me. Not that I need verification from Rackpull. I just find it strange, like, because he's really big into the dark side and he watches JDP and the Sheriff and all them. So I just find it surprising he's not mentioned me. Maybe I don't think I've done a video about him before. But anyway, he was doing a live and he was still doing a live. It must have been like a 5-6 hour live. And he was drunk and he had someone on, I think it was Narrative Destroyer. So I thought I'll have a little watch. And I watched it for a few minutes, not for very long. And he was talking about the Sheriff and saying that the Sheriff had done a live the day before. I don't know if this is true. Brian Cockrell told me. So he said he'd done a live before and he deleted the live, which usually is a red flag. If you do a live and then delete it straight away, you've probably done something silly. So they was talking about it and they said apparently the Sheriff was going round a hotel room like 4 o'clock in the morning. He was really drunk. He was trying to get more beer and he ended up getting chucked out of the, they wouldn't serve him because he was too drunk or something like that. And he probably made a bit of a tit of himself. And I made a video about a Sheriff not long ago where I really, it wasn't mean, it was funny, but it was a little bit mean because I felt triggered, he was calling me a smackhead, saying, oh, you're a smackhead, you choose to be a smackhead. And that's what annoyed me. Like, you could call me a smackhead all you want, I call myself it all the time. But when you're somebody like with an ignorant statement like that, like you choose to be like that, I think, that's not fair. And I think back to all the people who've died. There's a lot of people who I did drugs with. They're all dead now. Old friends who I became acquaintance with. Women that have been murdered on the beat. Prostitutes going out every day, doing things that they don't want to do. They don't choose to do that. They're forced into it by addiction. So I felt a little bit triggered and disrespected. So I did a video back and it was a little bit mean. And now I'm hearing that he's in an hotel room searching for beer at 4 a.m. And I'm thinking, maybe the Sheriff's in a bad place and I maybe shouldn't have squeezed him so hard. So I do feel a little bit guilty. But anyway, prison, some of my old cellmates. Now, I remember there was one kid, I can't remember his name. He was from the same town as Brett May from Staney. I think his name might have been Ryan. And I remember we just both got remanded and I remember seeing him getting on the bus. I wasn't in the same cell as him under the court. So we both got remanded and we both landed in Donkatraz, which is my local jail. We were both detoxing from drugs. So I'd been in the cells probably like 2 days. Had headache, no sleep, felt sick, just detoxing pretty hard. And then we got to Donkatraz and I remember he was sat on a bench waiting to get processed. So I sat next to him and he kind of looked lost. He looked a little shell-shocked. And I'm not attracted. I gravitate towards people like that because I think, I'll have him as a cellmate because You know, he's got no money. He's probably not going to get visits. He looks a little bit fragile. So I'll let him come in my cell, and then I can pretty much watch what I want on the TV, and you know, he can come and sit with us, and I'll share my canteen with him and share everything with him, and all he has to do is just, you know, whatever I say, really. So essentially I'm just paying him to be my cellmate so that I can do what I want in the cell, because if you get a bad cellmate, and it's someone who's a big hard cunt, and he's got all his mates coming round, and there's shit going missing, and he's on, like, got music on all night, it fucking does your head in, and it makes your jail 10 times worse. So I'll usually find someone who's small, weak, who, not bully them, but, you know, like, they've got a choice. You can come in with me, I'll share all my stuff with you, I'll treat you with respect, we can have a laugh, and all you have to do is we watch what I want on telly, and we'll go to bed when I want to go to bed, and it works, because he's getting half of my stuff, he's getting a good cellmate, and I'm getting a good cellmate, and I can do what I want. And plus I always get the bottom bunk. So that's what I usually do. And he was sat on the end of a bench, and he looked fragile, he looked shell-shocked. So I started talking to him, and he says, oh yeah, I'm in for... I can't remember what he said. He was in for... I'm sure he said he stole a gun from gypsies, and he got caught, and he that's what he was up for. So I ended up getting celled up with him, and like 3 months in or whatever, he was a good cellmate. He used to sit with us, he was quiet, he was a perfect cellmate, really. And he went up to court, and he got 4 years in prison, and he was always on the phone in the cell, because you get phones in your cell now. You didn't used to get anything, but now you get a cell, a phone, a TV, a kettle in there. It's a lot better now. And he was always on the phone, and he was always like, I try not to listen. If he's on the phone, I'll just leave, because you know, privacy. But he was always on about his case, saying, talking about trying to get the charges dropped, and I thought that was strange, you know, because I thought, well, if you've been caught stealing a gun off gypsies, and he was saying, oh, he's trying to get his brother to go around and see the gypsies and drop the charges, and so I was like, okay, fair enough. But then he went to court, and he got 4 years in prison. And he come back, he said, oh, I've got 4 years. I was like, oh, fucking hell, gutted, mate, you know. He'll be all right, you know, get him a little pep talk. And he was still on the phone going on about dropping the charges. I'm like, well, if you've got 4 years, if you've been sentenced, how can he drop the charges? And then one day, he's come back to the cell, he says, I'm getting out. I said, what do you mean you're getting out? You've fucking 4 years in prison. He says, oh, they've dropped the charges. I said, how can they drop the charges? You've just been sentenced to 4 years. You can't drop the charges if you've been sentenced. And then he got out. I'm like, fucking hell. And by the way, he's dead now. I think he died of asthma attack, which I can't imagine that. That'd be horrible. But it wasn't drug related. Well, it might have been. But yeah, he died, and he actually got out. And I'm thinking back, and I'm thinking, how did he wangle that? If you've got 4 years, you've got 4 years. It weren't an appeal. I could understand that if he appealed it and went back, but he didn't. He just one day he was like, he'd got 4 years, and then one day, I'm going to drop the charges. So I always thought that was a bit weird, and then I found out something a bit later on. I can't remember from who, but apparently it was his dad what he'd stole off. It weren't gypsies. So then I'm thinking, well, why didn't he just say that? I don't give a shit, you know, I'm a fucking thief myself. I'm a baghead, I'm stealing all the time, so I don't care who you've stolen off. But yeah, I always thought that was a bit weird, and the whole thing with just getting out all of a sudden because they've dropped charges. Why didn't you just tell me? I nicked off my dad, and I'm trying to persuade him to drop the charges, but there was this whole cloak and dagger thing, and it was all very weird and strange. And then I found out later, you know, it weren't gypsies, it was his dad, so that made it even more weird. And I can't remember his name. I'm sure it was Ryan something. And I'll have to ask Brett if I see him, if he knows what I'm on about. I think he had a brother. Well, he must have done, because he was always ringing him. But I just can't remember his name. Ryan something, a little kid with bald head. He was a lovely kid. But yeah, it was just a whole weirdness, you know, behind the whole thing, like suddenly getting out. And it is now when I'm looking back, I'm thinking, you know, was he in for dodgy charges, or, you know, what happened there? And there was another kid who came in, And he was green as hell, really. He was a bit like me, you know, well-spoken, polite, seemed like a nice kid. He just didn't seem like he fit into the prison thing. And I remember asking him, saying, well, what are you in for? And he said something like tax evasion or something, which, sometimes that's a red flag, you know, depending on, like if somebody comes in with a pants pulled up, glasses on, you know, fat as a pig, straight away you think pedo, and then when you say what you're in for, oh, tax evasion, you're like, yeah, you're fucking wrong, and yeah. But yeah, he was just a young, polite kid. And I remember he'd come onto the wing, and what had happened was he'd grassed somebody up. This is how green he was. There was messing with him because he was an easy target. He was in the showers, and one of the lads took his clothes off and like walked into the showers with him. And they were just messing with him, and anyway, he's kicked off, and it's all, you know, the screws have come in, and they've asked him who did it, and he's grassed him up straight away. But because he was so green, you know, I just told him, I said, look, you can't be fucking grassing people up. That'll get you beat up in here. Just fucking. And then something else happened. I can't remember what it was, but he came and got him. Went to. It might have been that incident actually. Something happened. He might have been in the showers. He'd gone in the shower, and then the screws have took him away. They've come back, and then they've gone straight to the kid's cell. That was it. He went in. He did that in the showers with him, and then he went. The screws came and told him who did that in the showers with you, and he's grassed him up. And then they've come back, put him back in his cell, gone straight to his cell, and nicked him. So everybody knew he'd grassed him up, and I was like, fucking hell, you can't be doing shit like that. You can't be grassing people up. But yeah, I look back now and I think, what was he really in for? You know, he could have been a wrong, and but he might not have been. He might have been in for tax evasion. Like I say, he seemed like a polite kid. I remember when one of the bullies like latched onto him, and he says, I'm going to take you in showers and smash your head in. He jumped up and said, oh, come on then, let's go. And I was like, fucking hell, he's going to get killed. And he went in the showers with him, and the bullies come flying out and landed on his back. He's come running over and fucking headbutted him. I'm like, fucking hell. And that's when I learned a very important lesson that day. You don't judge a book by its cover, because he looked like a little choir boy. I thought, fucking, he's going to get killed here. And he ended up putting the bully on his back. But anyway, I lost my traction a little bit there. But that's the video for today. If you like this video, press the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Bonjour.